The Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs will face off in the AFC Championship game at Arrowhead, or some people like to call Burrowhead, as a rematch of last year's game in which the Chiefs had a 21-3 lead in the second quarter, but the Bengals came back to take a 24-21 lead in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs forced overtime with a field goal, but ended up losing in overtime, sending the Bengals to the Super Bowl. The Cincinnati Bengals had a slow start to the season, going 0-2 and then 2-3. However, they turned things around with a 42-21 win over the Panthers in Week 9 and went on to win 8 straight games. They will face the Kansas City Chiefs, whom they beat earlier this season with the final score of 27-24. This was the third consecutive win for the Bengals over the Chiefs, with quarterback Joe Burrow completing 25 of 31 passes for 286 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also running for 41 yards and a touchdown. Mahomes will be entering the game with an injury to his high ankle, which may affect his mobility on the field, with a high completion percentage. The Chiefs will likely rely highly on tight end Travis Kelce, who has a favorable matchup against the Bengals defense. In order to take pressure off Mahomes, the Chiefs will need to establish a strong running game. The Chiefs' running game has been less than stellar this season and will need to step up for this matchup. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals will look to continue their winning streak as they face off against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Burrow, known for his cool confidence and impressive quarterback skills, hopes to lead his team back to the Super Bowl. His impressive divisional round against the Bengals, completing 23 of 36 passes for 242 yards and 2 pass tubs. His strong chemistry with wide receiver Jamar Chase brings back memories of Mahomes and former Chiefs Tyreek Hill. Despite Mahomes' injury, though, the game is expected to be a high-scoring affair, with both teams relying on their passing game, and the Chiefs will look to avenge their loss from last year's AFC Championship game and set up a Super Bowl rematch between them and the 49ers if they beat the Eagles. The big question of the game is the health of Pat Mahomes, who suffered a high ankle sprain that kept him out of the game for the first half against the Jaguars. Tight end Travis Kelce once again will factor heavily. The Chiefs tight end has at least 95 receiving yards in his last 7 playoff games, along with 8 touchdowns. Kelce's 14 catches in the divisional round set an NFL record for a tight end. Mahomes and Kelce will aim to exploit a Bengals defense that gave up the 6th most yards to a tight end. Another factor that will be key is the Chiefs' running game. Not a strong suit during the regular season, Kansas City ranked 20th in rushing per game. It's no secret that Joe Burrow and the Bengals have had success against the Chiefs. Cincinnati has beaten them 3 games in a row, including a 27-24 in Week 13 win this season in Cincinnati. Opening as a small underdog and now shifting to small favorites, there's a lot of confidence in this team right now. They should have a ton of confidence after going into Buffalo in the divisional round and controlling the entire game, with quarterback Joe Burrow looking as cool and calm as ever, completing 23 of 36 passes for 242 yards with 2 tubs. It's a good matchup for Joe Burrow, as Kansas City gave up the 18th most passing yards per game this season. He'll have the league's best trio of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd to throw to. Running back Joe Mixon came alive last week in the snowy Buffalo conditions, rushing for over 100 yards for only the second time this season. Mixon gives this team another gear for both elite passing teams. Opening up the run game is important. It won't be easy, as Cincinnati 7th and Kansas City 8th were both in the top 10 for lowest rushing yards allowed per game. There's not been much love shown to the defensive in this game. When you have names such as Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Travis Kelce, it's easy to forget about the defense in this game. The Bengals will be having a defensive group that only gave up 10 points last week to what was a surging Bills offense. Defensive end Sam Herbert and Trey Hendrickson, along with linebacker Logan Wilson, will focus on getting to Mahomes and making him very uncomfortable this game with that high ankle sprain, which may or may not be healed. For the Chiefs, it starts with defensive tackle Chris Jones. Jones was 4th in the NFL this season in sacks, playing alongside the Chiefs' game record defensive end Frank Clark helped the Chiefs finish 2nd in sacks. This group's front will have to find a way to slow down Burrow, who has a makeshift offensive line Well, at least 4 starters gone. Both these teams' strengths lie in the offensive side of the ball. The Chiefs finished first in points per game and the Bengals finished seventh. The Bengals looked really impressive last week in bad conditions, putting up 27 points. Kansas City scored 27 as a collective, but could have scored more if they weren't trying to kill the clock. It's uncertain how Pat Mahomes will look mobility-wise, but the arm is still alive. These teams' strengths lie on the offensive side of the ball. The Chiefs finished first in points per game and the Bengals finished seventh. The Bengals looked really impressive last week in the bad conditions, putting up 27 points. Kansas City also scored 27 as a collective, but could have scored more if they weren't trying to kill the clock. It's uncertain how Mahomes will look mobility-wise, but his arm is still the best there ever was. Now, I'm going to have to pick the Bengals going into this game simply because they have a slightly better defense than the Chiefs. But it should be a good game no matter what. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more prediction videos, including the UFC, NFL, and maybe a little bit of NBA. See you at the top.